Hi, this is Phil Newman from Longevity.Technology, and I'm joined today by Ulrich Dempfle, who is the co-founder and CEO of Carol. Ulrich,
Thank you for having me on your show.
well, Ulrich, we're going to be talking about really quite a lot of interesting concepts around rehits. Now, of course, this is for many people kind of a new concept. People are familiar with exercise bikes, but of course, you're more than an exercise bike. You're combining quite a lot of very interesting science into a
Mm.
product. Now, um, obviously, people appreciate short workouts, and I guess that's the concept that sits underneath the Carol bike. But our beat is longevity, right? So we're interested in
Mm.
understanding how the Carol bike can support people with their individual health and longevity. So maybe could you just give us a brief introduction to the product and its concept, and then we'll maybe move into how this works for us as people that want to live long and healthy lives.
Sure, of course. So, Caro Bike is the smartest, most effective exercise bike. It's been scientifically proven to give you double the health and fitness benefits in 90% less time compared to regular cardio. And the simple and AI personalized workouts are suitable for any age and fitness levels and can be done in just 5 minutes. And the best part is you only have to work hard for two 20-second sprints. The bike is based on REHIT, as you just mentioned, and REHIT stands for Reduced Exertion High Intensity Interval Training. That's a new and improved form of HIIT. So most people will be familiar with HIIT, and REHIT has been developed by scientists looking for the shortest and most effective and accessible way to exercise. And research has proven that REHIT is that fastest way to get fit with short workouts that fit into any schedule and have dramatic health and fitness benefits. And there, of those health and fitness benefits, first and foremost, VO2 max um, derive or from there follow a lot of longevity benefits.
So let's talk about that. I mean, I've experienced the Carol bike. I've got one at home. I've been chased by various animals around the savannah, and that was an interesting concept for me to understand how the narrative of working with your products helped me
Mm-hmm.
understand what I was trying to do contextually. And interestingly, my wife has also taken up using the product as well, and she's started from
Perfect.
zero. She's not an exercise person
Mm-hmm.
at all. So we're
Yeah,
we're embracing the product and really enjoying it, I have to say. But
that's great
let's
to
talk
hear.
a little
Thank you.
bit about how this works from a longevity perspective. So,
Mm-hmm.
we want to understand really how, I guess, diet, sleep, fitness, exercise, all of those things are very, very important to our longevity.
Yeah,
Have you backed it into a longevity principle in terms of the way that you
yeah,
approach the product development?
sure. So the primary benefits of Caro Bike and of REHIT are one, improved cardiorespiratory fitness, and second, improved metabolic health. And so to put some numbers to that, our users and scientific, so our user data shows that, and scientific studies have proven that you can improve your VO2 max, so your maximum ability to burn oxygen, by over 12% in only 8 weeks. Now, VO2 max is a very, very fundamental physiological metric. It's probably the most important physiological health marker. It's the strongest correlate to life expectancy. And studies have shown that a 10% improvement in VO2 max adds 2 years of healthy life expectancy.
Wow, that's very
Another
interesting.
way to look at it is just how much. So, from the age of 30, we all lose about 10% of our VO2 max per decade. So, with Carol Bike, in only 8 weeks, you can make up and dial back the clock on your fitness by over a decade. And
Wow.
that's very noticeable. It's not subtle. It's not something. So I do a lot of, just because I'm into this things, I do a lot of things that have health and longevity benefits. And some of them I do out of good faith and because I believe the science, but I'm not really sure whether I can tell the difference.
I understand that concept
A
very much.
12% improvement in VO2 max is absolutely noticeable. So you don't have to guess or trust or anything. You will feel it. So that's number one. The second thing is around metabolic health. So studies have shown that you can improve your risk and reduce your risk of developing metabolic diseases by 62% also in only 8 weeks. Now, that's the same level of risk reduction you'd expect from a drug like a prescription drug like metformin. And you can get that with REHIT, with Caro Bike, in only 8 weeks without the cost for the medicine and without the side effects. So it's very profound. And I think many people have realized that exercise is just very, very fundamental to your health, to your longevity. And they're very trusted and powerful voices that make that argument much more eloquently than I can do. One thing to illustrate that, which I find is quite shocking almost. So low cardiorespiratory fitness causes more avoidable deaths than smoking, diabetes, and obesity combined. So exercise is really, one of the most important, I would argue the most important, maybe competing with sleep, interventions that you can undertake quite easily to improve your health, to do something for your longevity. And listening to that or reading those stats, you wonder why is not everybody doing more exercise. It's
Understood.
really quite sad to see. It's only 5% of Americans get the recommended amount of exercise. That's 150 minutes per week. And when you survey people why not, very consistently, the most important perceived barrier is lack of time. And that is exactly the obstacle, the hurdle that REHIT and that Caro Bike helps to overcome. And we see that our users can build a sustainable fitness and exercise routine with REHIT on Caro Bike.
Well, Ulrich, a lot of what you're saying really is resonating very much with our readers and what they're looking for. And of course, there's when you look at what's happening with Ozempic and the phenomena of
Yeah,
metabolic health
yeah.
through medication, that obviously feels so much more appealing to people than, of course, perhaps exercise, which we well know is not the correct approach. Some of the statements you've been making have been really, really fascinating. Are you putting the Caro Bike system through any independent research? So people are looking at researching your product as part of their wider work?
Yeah, sure. So some of the stats I cited are based on our own data. And we have by now, by far, the largest database of REHIT rides with hundreds of thousands of rides from tens of thousands of riders. So our ability to analyze our data allows us to do things that academic researchers can't really do because they don't have that much data available.
Yes.
At the same time, we've not invented REHIT. We've come across REHIT. We found REHIT and were fascinated by it and wanted to do it. And there was just no product for consumers that made it easy to do it. And so we contacted the scientists who are the leading researchers in that field. And they showed us how they did it and made it very clear you need special equipment for this. And so they've showed us their equipment. It's operated by a second person. It's much more expensive than our bikes are, and just not practical for a consumer. However, the data of their trials obviously has flown into our product development. So that was our starting base. And our bikes are used now by the leading researchers in that field. So Professor Lance Dalek in Colorado, Professor Martin Gibala at McMaster's University in Canada, Dr. Niels Vollert and Dr. Richard Metcalf here in the UK. They all do research now also on our bikes and have published peer-reviewed, randomized, controlled trials on our bikes that back up those claims. And those were independently commissioned by the American Council on Exercise to basically validate or test our claims. So their mission is to make recommendations on exercise and validate new approaches, new technology. And so we went through a process of independent confirmation studies. And that those figures that I've quoted stem from them on our website at carobike.com. We link to all the original research for people who want to dive a lot further into this.
Well, I mean, it sounds really fascinating, Rick. I mean, you strike me as being somebody that's obviously taken the growth of your business very seriously. And I guess that people sometimes conceptually don't really understand business models and what a product actually represents. Now, I guess that you mentioned earlier that you're sitting on a lot of data, so you've got a lot of interaction between your users and their bikes, but of course they're not interacting with the bike. They're interacting, of course, with your data sets sitting up in the cloud. So really, I guess it must be frustrating for somebody like you that sort of always gets compared to Peloton, for example, and you spend your life explaining to people that, we're a health business rather than a bike business, right?
Yes, that's yes, to some extent that's true. On first sight, many people see a bike with a screen and say, "Oh, it's just like Peloton," but really, bike, screen, and then the similarities stop. We're dramatically different compared to Peloton. We think Peloton has done a great job implementing their vision, and they have, I think, a very strong value proposition, and I wish them very well. And to some extent, I wish them much better than they're doing right now.
Yes,
I'd love them to be very successful. Their business is focused on celebrity instructors, banging soundtracks, a sense of community. And that's fine. If that's for you, that's for you. I don't want to talk that down at all. Our business is centered around maximum health and fitness benefits in minimum time. And that's what we're about. So structured workouts that give you optimal health and fitness benefits in minimum time. So we have a very broad range of users from, as you mentioned, we have people who come as almost as novices and from a sedentary lifestyle to Carol. But we have Olympic gold medalists, so using our bikes, and fitness enthusiasts who actually work out a lot and just want this extra training stimulus that REHIT offers and the effectiveness of those workouts also in their toolkit. So we have, it's a really broad range of users.
Yeah, and you mentioned earlier, of course, you've got research institutes and so on, and I can think perhaps of, the military and rehabilitation institutes, maybe even associated with the military and other organizations, really embracing what it is that you're doing as well.
Yeah, that's right. So we have a number of universities. We actually have some hospitals that use our bikes or uniformed services. Now, we're not aspiring to be a medical device. That's we want to be mass market. That's our vision. That's our mission. We want to shift the needle on the inactivity epidemic. And that means that we have to be competitively priced, relatively affordable, especially if you value your time and expect tangible and quick results in terms of health and fitness. But clearly, we want to be mass market. We don't want to be a tool that is affordable for some tech millionaires, billionaires or so. And the select few, we do want to have broad appeal, and we want to make a difference, really. And that's how we designed the product and how we approach the market.
Yeah, understood. Well, Ulrich, I have to say, on behalf of Mrs. Newman and myself, we're very much enjoying your product, and of course,
Mhm.
you've made some very interesting points today. So we'll ensure that a lot of the links and references that you've
Yeah.
mentioned are embedded in the supporting article for this video. But thanks so much for joining us today. It's been fascinating.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.